So, here's the thing about the Velkari Empire. We thought we were hot stuff. Actually, scratch that. We knew we were hot stuff. 847 worlds conquered, subjugated, and neatly filed into our ever-expanding collection of, quote, lesser species. Not too shabby for a civilization that started from a single swamp planet, right? I'm Commander Zeph'kor, by the way, third in command of the Imperial Fleet, holder of 17 medals for strategic brilliance, and the guy who's about to tell you the most embarrassing story in Velkari military history. Spoiler alert, it involves a species that still uses combustion engines and thinks reality television is entertainment. When we picked up the signals from Sol 3, or as the locals call it, Earth, we practically threw a party on the command deck. Finally, another primitive rock to add to the collection. Our scanners showed they hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel yet. They were still launching chemical rockets like it was amateur hour at the Space Academy. My second officer Krell actually laughed so hard his breathing tubes whistled. "This will take, what, 3 rotations?" he asked, wiping condensation from his optical sensors. I gave it 2. I was being generous. Our scout ship slipped into Earth's orbit on a Tuesday. Why do I remember it was a Tuesday? Because that's apparently when humans broadcast something called Taco Tuesday on their primitive information network. Don't ask. I still don't understand it. The moment we began scanning their technology, the entire bridge crew descended into what I can only describe as professional mockery. Their fastest aircraft, barely supersonic. Their most powerful weapons, nuclear fission. We'd moved past that tech roughly 4,000 cycles ago. It was like watching toddlers play with wooden blocks while bragging about their architectural prowess. "Commander," my communications officer Vesh called out with barely contained amusement, "you need to see what we're intercepting from their data streams." What followed was, quite possibly, the most confusing hour of my military career.
Oh.
We watched something called a game show, where humans answered trivia questions for currency.
Oh.
We witnessed a romantic comedy where 2 humans spent 2 hours avoiding obvious communication, and then, oh, stars above, we found their internet. Millions upon millions of videos, of small, furry quadrupeds, just sitting there, doing nothing, sometimes falling off furniture, and humans watched these, voluntarily, with billions of views. "Sir," Vesh said, his vocal cords trembling with suppressed laughter, "they've dedicated approximately 37% of their global network to images and videos of these creatures. They call them cats." Krell pulled up what humans called a meme. It was a picture of one of these cats with broken language written across it, something about cheeseburger. We spent 10 minutes trying to decode if it was a military cipher. It wasn't.
It was just nonsense.
Deliberate nonsense. For entertainment. "These beings," I announced, standing from my command chair with all the authority I could muster, "are clearly no threat to the Velkari Empire. They're too busy amusing themselves with domestic animals to pose any resistance." The crew nodded in agreement, obviously. "Prepare the standard intimidation protocol," I ordered. "We'll broadcast our arrival, make our demands, and have them surrendering by nightfall, their nightfall, whatever time zone is currently experiencing darkness." We'd done this 847 times before. This would be 848. Simple, easy, routine. Oh, how gloriously wrong I was. We transmitted our standard message to every major population center on the planet simultaneously. It was a work of art, really. Dramatic music, holographic displays of our military might, the usual speech about bowing to superior intellect or facing annihilation. I'd given this speech, or variations of it, dozens of times. The translator algorithms made sure every human heard it in their native language. "People of Earth," I began, my voice booming across their airwaves, "you have been selected for integration into the Velkari Empire. Resistance is futile. Surrender is inevitable. You have 12 of your Earth hours to respond with your unconditional compliance." Then we waited for the panic, the chaos, the desperate pleas for mercy. What we got instead was a flood of response transmissions that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. "Commander," Vex said, confusion replacing his earlier amusement, "we're receiving hundreds of thousands of responses. Most of them appear to be jokes. One suggests we, and I quote, perform a physically impossible act upon ourselves. Another is asking if we've heard about their Lord and Savior. Several are inviting us to something called a barbecue. What's a barbecue? Krail asked. Nobody knew. But here's what really threw us. Within 3 hours, not 12, we received an official response from a unified Earth government. Unified. These humans had over 200 separate nation-states, and they'd somehow organized themselves into a single negotiating body in less time than it took us to catalog their cat videos. The face that appeared on our view screen belonged to a human female. She had dark hair tied back, sharp eyes behind corrective lenses, and a smile that somehow conveyed both welcome and warning. "Hello," she said pleasantly. "I'm Dr. Elena Frost, and I'll be handling negotiations on behalf of Earth. Before we discuss your, let's call it, generous offer, I have a few questions. First, do you have representation from your legal department? Because I've got some paperwork you're going to want to review. Second, have you filed the appropriate forms for uninvited military presence in sovereign airspace? There's a process for this sort of thing." I stared at the screen. Krell stared at the screen. Vesh actually checked to see if our translators were malfunctioning. You're negotiating terms?" I stammered. "We're offering you the choice between submission and destruction." Right, Dr. Frost said, waving her hand dismissively. "Super intimidating. Very impressive light show, by the way. Our special effects teams took notes. But here's the thing, Commander Zeph'kor. Yes, we know your name. We've been listening to your communications for the past hour. You're not the first bully we've dealt with. We've been bullying each other for millennia. You're just newer at it." She leaned forward, that smile widening. "So here's our offer.
You leave peacefully, we forget this happened, and nobody has to find out that you got outmaneuvered by a species that still thinks cat videos are peak entertainment."
Sound good? My breathing tubes constricted. This wasn't in the manual. Pride, as I would soon learn, is a universal constant, and my pride was deeply, profoundly wounded by Dr. Frost's casual dismissal of 8 centuries of Velkari military dominance. "Enough of this," I announced to my crew. "Deploy the Talon 7 to the coordinates of their largest military installation. Tactical strike. Minimal casualties. Just enough to remind them who holds the power here." The Talon 7 was a beautiful ship. Sleek, deadly, equipped with plasma cannons that could level a city block in seconds. Its shields could deflect anything these primitives threw at it. This would be quick, clean, and educational. We transmitted a warning. 5 minutes to evacuate. We weren't monsters after all. We just needed to make a point. What happened next is still analyzed in Velkari military academies as a case study in what not to expect. The Talon 7 descended toward what humans called Edwards Air Force Base in their California region. Right on schedule, it powered up its primary weapon systems, and that's when the humans opened fire with everything they had. Missiles. Lots of missiles. Primitive, yes. But there were so many of them. The Talon 7's shields held easily. Just as predicted. Our captain, Thorn, actually yawned during the initial barrage. Then the humans did something weird. They stopped firing explosives and started hitting the ship with concentrated electromagnetic pulses, radio waves, microwaves, and what appeared to be several frequencies of light, including something they called a laser disco ball. "What are they doing?" Krell asked, watching the light show with confusion. "No idea," I admitted. "But it's not penetrating the shields. Thorn, proceed with the demonstration." Thorn fired a warning shot, deliberately missing the base by 100 meters. The plasma bolt carved a spectacular crater in the desert. Very impressive. Very intimidating. The humans responded by launching what looked like modified communication satellites directly at the Talon 7. "They're throwing garbage at us now?" Vex said, incredulous. But then one of those satellites exploded right against the shields, and the entire defensive grid flickered, just for a second, but it flickered. "Report," I barked. "Unknown, sir. The satellite carried some kind of resonance device. It's like they know. That's impossible." "What's impossible?" "It's like they matched our shield frequency, but they've only seen our technology for 6 hours. 6 hours. They'd reverse-engineered Velkari shield technology in 6 hours. Technology it took us 3 generations to develop." The next satellite hit dead center. The shields dropped completely. Thorn's voice crackled over the comm. Panic evident. "Command, we are defenseless. Requesting immediate extraction. They're locking missiles on our engine core." "How did they? We need to leave now." I ordered the retreat. The mighty Talon 7 limped back to orbit with its metaphorical tail between its legs, dodging human aircraft that moved in patterns our combat computers couldn't predict. Erratic. Aggressive. One pilot actually waggled his wings at us. The disrespect was infuriating. "Sir," Vesh said quietly. "Earth's military networks are calling it, and I'm reading this directly, the most expensive fireworks show in history. They're making jokes about it. We'd just been humiliated by a species that hadn't even left its own solar system." I felt my confidence crumbling like a sandcastle at high tide. After the Talon 7 incident, I did what any sensible commander would do. I ordered our intelligence division to stop laughing at cat videos and actually study these humans. What they found made my blood run cold. Well, colder. Velkari blood runs at approximately 15 degrees below what humans consider room temperature anyway. The report landed on my datapad with a file size that seemed excessive. Surely primitive species didn't have that much history worth documenting. I was wrong. So catastrophically wrong. "Commander?" Our chief intelligence analyst, Mora, said with an expression I'd never seen before. "Fear. You need to read Section 7. Actually, all the sections, but especially Section 7. Section 7 was titled Human Conflict History. I started reading. Then I kept reading. Then I couldn't stop reading. Like watching a solar collapse in slow motion. These humans, these supposedly primitive beings, had been fighting each other for their entire recorded history. Not occasional skirmishes. Constant, brutal, innovative warfare. They'd invented weapons specifically designed to kill other humans, then improved those weapons, then invented counters to those weapons, in an endless cycle of creative destruction. They'd fought with sticks and stones, then bronze and iron, then gunpowder and cannons, then aircraft and tanks, then nuclear weapons that could crack their own planet open like an egg. And they'd used them, twice, on themselves. They dropped atomic weapons on their own species, I whispered, horrified, over territorial disputes. "Keep reading," Mora said grimly. "The tactics. Oh stars, the tactics. Trench warfare where millions died for meters of mud. Blitzkrieg strategies. Guerrilla warfare. Psychological operations. They'd spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other, and they'd gotten really, really good at it. We didn't interrupt a primitive species," I said slowly. "We interrupted a planet full of warriors who were between wars." "It gets worse," Mora added. "Show him the Cyber Division report." That's when things became truly nightmarish. While I was reading about human history, Earth's hackers had apparently decided we were a fun new challenge. Our communication systems started glitching. At first it was minor, a screen flicker here, a delayed response there. Then our main tactical display was replaced with that same cat demanding a cheeseburger. "Get that off my screen," I roared. "We're trying, sir. They've embedded it in our operating system. Every time we remove it, 12 more appear. It's reproducing. The image is reproducing." Our weapons system started playing something called Never Gonna Give You Up on loop. Our navigation displayed directions to the nearest McDonald's, whatever that was. Our priority alerts were now accompanied by a sound file of humans laughing. They'd turned our warships into a joke, literally. "Sir, we're being hailed by one of their fighter squadrons," Vesh announced. "Audio only. They're requesting permission to, I think this is another joke, buzz our tower." The voice that came through was cocky, relaxed, chewing something. "Velkari Command. This is Captain Rex Donovan of the 447th Fighter Squadron. Just wanted to let you know we've got eyes on 12 of your scout ships. Nice formation. Very tight. Very predictable. We've been flying circles around you for the past 20 minutes. Literally, check your aft sensors." We checked. 6 human aircraft, primitive by our standards, had indeed been flying loops around our perimeter. Our sensors had tagged them as non-threats and ignored them. "How?" Krail whispered. Captain Donovan continued. "Here's the thing about us Earth pilots. We don't fly by computer algorithms. We fly by instinct, coffee, and what we call spite makes us real unpredictable. Your targeting systems keep trying to calculate our next move. Good luck with that." One of the human craft suddenly inverted, flying upside down alongside our command ship. The pilot waved, actually waved at our external cameras. "Also," Donovan added, Tell your programmers the cat meme was a nice touch. Our guys are having a field day with your security. It's like you never heard of a firewall. Anyway, we'll be here if you need us. Donovan out. I slumped in my command chair watching primitive human aircraft dance through space around vessels that cost more than their entire GDP. We weren't fighting a primitive species. We were fighting organized chaos with a military budget. High Command didn't believe my reports. They thought I was exaggerating, embellishing, possibly suffering from some kind of deep space neurological condition, so they did what the Velkari Empire always does when faced with unexpected resistance. They sent the entire Third Fleet. 47 warships, 2 carrier vessels, enough firepower to sterilize a continent. Surely High Command reasoned, I'd simply been unlucky. Surely overwhelming force would remind these humans of their place in the natural order. I tried to warn them, I really did. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in a perfect combat formation, surrounding Earth like a predatory net.
Hey!
It was beautiful. Textbook strategy. Every ship in position, weapons charged, shields at maximum. This is Grand Admiral Kovac, to the government of Earth. My superior announced with the kind of pompous authority that comes from 800 successful conquests. You have exhausted our patience. Surrender immediately or face total annihilation. Dr. Frost appeared on screen again, and I swear she looked tired, not afraid. Tired, like we were a persistent door-to-door salesman. Really? We're still doing this? Okay, fine. Let me introduce you to humanity's greatest tactical advantage. Your weapons are inferior, Kovac sneered. Your technology is primitive. What possible advantage could you have? Stubbornness, she said simply. Also, we don't sleep much, we run on spite and caffeine, and we've had a really long week. You picked a bad time. That's when the humans launched their counter-offensive, and my faith in Velkari superiority died screaming. They didn't attack with organized military precision. They attacked with chaos. Pure, beautiful, terrifying chaos. Military vessels coordinated with civilian spacecraft. Satellites became weapons. The International Space Station, their orbital research facility, launched what appeared to be modified cargo containers filled with ball bearings that shredded through 3 of our scout ships. But here's what broke us. Here's what made Grand Admiral Kovac's face turn the color of a dying star. The humans started adapting in real time. Our plasma weapons overheated their hull plating. They vented atmosphere to cool it, then resealed the breaches with something they called duct tape. Duct tape, a strip of adhesive fabric, on a spaceship, and it worked. Our electromagnetic disruptors knocked out their primary systems. They switched to manual controls. Manual, like barbarians. Like it was perfectly normal to fly a spacecraft with physical control surfaces. One human vessel, the USS Tenacity, took a direct hit to its power core. Total system failure. By every tactical calculation, it was dead in space. Then the crew rerouted power from life support, ran the engines on battery reserves, and kept fighting while breathing from emergency oxygen tanks. They're killing themselves to fight us, Krell whispered, horrified. No, I corrected, watching the tactical display with growing dread. That's how they fight. They've always fought like this, against each other, for thousands of years. The moment that will forever be remembered in Velkari military history, the moment that made us the laughingstock of the galactic community, came when Captain Donovan's squadron disabled our flagship. Not with advanced weapons, not with superior technology. They used a combination of kinetic strikes, hacked guidance systems, and what the after-action report described as aggressive flying while fueled by coffee and poor decision-making skills. Donovan's wingman actually crashed his damaged fighter into our shield generator in a calculated collision, ejecting at the last possible second. The human survived, by the way. Broken bones, but survived. He was later given a medal. Our shield generator was scrap. Grand Admiral Kovac looked at me, his command authority crumbling. Zeph'kor, in your professional military opinion, can we win this engagement? I watched a human pilot duct tape his cockpit canopy shut after it cracked, drink something from a thermos, and then perform a combat maneuver that violated at least 3 laws of physics. No, sir, I said quietly. No, we cannot. For the first time in Velkari history, we broadcast a fleet-wide retreat order. We ran, pushed from humans, from a species that still used combustion engines and thought reality television was entertainment. We ran. 3 days later, I found myself back on a view screen with Dr. Frost, but this time I wasn't making demands. I was asking for terms. The humiliation was exquisite. "So," Dr. Frost said, mercifully not gloating, "shall we try this again, with actual diplomacy this time? We, the Velkari Empire, formally requests negotiations, as equals." The words tasted like ash in my mouth. Beautiful, humbling ash. "See? That wasn't so hard." She smiled, but it was genuine now, not mocking, almost sympathetic. "Commander, can I be honest with you?" "Please," I said, because apparently I was a glutton for punishment. "We didn't want to fight you. Fighting is exhausting and expensive, and we've got enough problems down here without adding alien invasions to the list. But here's the thing you need to understand about humans." She leaned forward, her expression serious. "We're persistence predators. Do you know what that means?" I shook my head. Millions of years ago, our ancestors hunted by just walking after prey, not running, walking. We'd follow animals for days, weeks even, until they collapsed from exhaustion. We didn't have to be faster or stronger. We just had to be too stubborn to quit. She paused. "We haven't changed. We still don't quit. Ever. On anything. It's basically our species' defining characteristic, and it makes us absolutely insufferable." "I noticed," I said dryly. "The good news is, we're also really good at cooperation once we decide someone isn't trying to kill us. So trade agreement, cultural exchange, we've got this thing called pizza you're going to love." I filed my official report to the Galactic Council that evening. Every word was painful, every sentence was an admission of failure, but it was necessary. But it was necessary. The Council's response came swiftly. Emergency session. Mandatory attendance. I stood before representatives of 63 species and explained how humanity had defeated the Velkari Empire using duct tape, coffee, and what I could only describe as weaponized insanity. The chamber was silent when I finished. Then the Quelathi ambassador spoke up. "Let me understand this correctly. They haven't achieved faster than light travel, but they defeated your entire Third Fleet." "Correct. And they did this while simultaneously making jokes about it." "Also correct." The council voted unanimously. Humanity was officially classified as a Category 7 species. Do not provoke. Do not antagonize. Definitely do not attempt conquest. The file was flagged and read across all galactic databases with a simple warning: humanity, Earth, Sol system, friendly if approached diplomatically, absolutely terrifying if threatened, recommend extreme caution and possibly bringing food as a peace offering. So that's how humanity announced itself to the galaxy. Not with a grand exploration mission or a plea for friendship, but by absolutely humiliating the most arrogant military force in known space. Me, I'm retired now, teaching at the academy. My lectures on human tactics are the most attended courses in Velkari military history. Students always ask the same question: how did we lose to primitives? My answer never changes. They're not primitive. They're terrifying. There's a difference. Earth joined the Galactic Council 6 months later. Dr. Frost is their ambassador. She brought pizza to the first session. 17 species are now addicted to it. It's become a diplomatic crisis. The galaxy's perspective on humanity has shifted from dismissal to cautious respect mixed with genuine fear. 3 other empires have attempted contact since our disaster. All 3 opened with diplomatic lee channels and trade agreements. Nobody wants to be the second species that underestimated Earth. Last month I received a package from Captain Donovan. Inside was a roll of duct tape, a bag of coffee beans, and a handwritten note. "Thanks for the workout. Let's grab a beer sometime." I'm actually considering it. To any species out there thinking about visiting Earth uninvited, let me give you some advice from someone who learned the hard way. Don't. Just don't. Those humans look harmless with their cat videos and their ridiculous entertainment, but underneath all that chaos is a species that spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of not giving up. They're creative, stubborn, adaptable, and they think duct tape is a legitimate repair solution for spacecraft. They'll befriend you or beat you depending entirely on how you approach them, and honestly, you want the friendship. Their food alone is worth the diplomatic effort. But if you absolutely must threaten them, if you're determined to make the same mistake I did, then do me a favor. Record it. The rest of the galaxy could use a good laugh. And, maybe, just maybe, bring coffee as an apology gift. You're going to need it. Trust me, on this one. Commander Zeph'kor, retired, signing off. Good luck out there. You're going to need it more than I did.